Hey guys, it's Fred. I've got a couple of questions I wanted to ask because there's some smart people out there following this Buford Pusser nonsense. Some smart people. I'm having second. I did think that I know that Warren Jones was not a credible person. We know that. I mean, that's not hard to tell, and no wonder that the FBI let him go, or whatever reason it was that he was no longer with the FBI after a year. I can understand just what little bit of knowledge I have and just some of the things that I have found. I can imagine. Guys, I'm leaning towards these so-called statements here of Buford's and Jim Moffitt's. I'm leaning toward other people that wrote them up. I heard Mike Elam on one of his podcasts talking to a Ray. It's down here towards the bottom. We'll get to it. Bill Way. I heard him talking on there, and it sounds almost word for word the same as what's down there. Now, my question here for the TBI, and especially for Mr. Davison, is why hasn't this TBI agent been arrested? Who is this? IR number 259. Who is this? TBI investigative report. If this is a true and honest report, why hasn't this TBI agent, is he deceased? And it don't matter if he's deceased, because we could still have a press conference. Mr. Davis could. He'll get up there and say he would indict him if he was alive. So let's hold a press conference and let's say who this agent is. If this is Warren Jones, who is this? Or is it Mike Elam? Who is it? Because he should be indicted if what he's saying in this statement is true. And Jim Moffitt was never put before a grand jury, and that agent didn't charge Jim Moffitt for not coming forth with this information sooner. But he didn't only come forward sooner. He come forth, and the agent wrote it in a report, and that's as far as it went, just for book history, just for press conference history. Jim Moffitt stated, and once again, there's no signature on this statement. There's not even a signature of the so-called TBI agent that took the statement. Jim Moffitt stated Buford was taking payoffs, from clubs and operations. Buford would meet up with several women. Is that a crime? See, you can look at this and tell this is somebody jealous. They're jealous because evidently Buford may have had some side women. He may have. I don't know. I've never seen nothing with proof. I've never talked to any of these. I'd have to talk to people myself. I wouldn't take the TBI's word or Mr. Davis's word for nothing. I wouldn't take their word for nothing. According to Bill Howell, they wrote stuff in reports and changed his words just because he grinned. If he did grin, he said. But somebody's jealous because Buford would meet up with several women. What does that have to do with him murdering his wife? How can we prove that he murdered his wife just because he met up with women? How do we prove that he killed his wife because he was taking payoffs? How do we prove he killed his wife because of clubs and whiskey operations in the county? See, that doesn't prove diddly. That proves there's another crooked TBI agent here. If this is a legitimate, I don't think it is, but if it is, it's a crooked TBI agent. Why aren't they searching for this TBI agent? Why aren't they holding a press conference saying this agent's going to be prosecuted? Why is it just about Buford? Why is it anybody can say anything they want as long as it's bad about Buford? They'll put it in a statement. They'll put it in a report. but they're not going to charge nobody. They don't charge Mike Elam and Ricky Plunk for having a stolen gun, for having a gun that was possibly used in a ambush. Now, see, you can take what Mr. Davison said both ways. He said it was inconclusive that was the gun, but it was the same type and caliber. Okay, we've said that. So is 6 million other ones. But instead of trying to be on the defensive side, he said, but it was the same caliber and make. Okay, so that very possibly could be a gun that was used in the ambush. Who's in possession of that gun? It's inconclusive, but it very possibly could have been used because it's the same caliber and make. Okay, then why aren't we charging Ricky Plunk? Ricky Plunk is in possession. It's good enough to make that statement as if it's related to Buford, like, yeah, we can say Buford did it. It's the same caliber, it's the same make. We can say that about Buford and point that toward Buford like he did something with that gun. So if we can say that, why can't we also say, and Ricky Plunk was in possession of it, him and Mike Elam, they even went out and tampered with evidence and got other evidence from it. Well, you know, it goes both ways. We can point toward Buford Pusser, but we can't point toward Mike Elam and Ricky Plunk, the same evidence that you're using to convict or to sway people's opinion toward Buford Pusser. Moffitt stated he knew Buford and Buford's father had lied to TBI SA Warren Jones. He knew he lied to Warren Jones. Who wrote this? Is this Warren Jones writing this so he can cover himself? They knew they lied to me. They lied to me the whole time. I'm going to get them back here because the file's gone now. See what you all think. The file's missing now. You'll never find that file, but I'll let you find this statement of Jim Moffitt's. I will leave this out. I'll leave something here for you. I'll leave you some candy to look at. Hardly ever went on an important call at night. Said Buford hardly ever went on an important call at night. You know, I've gone over this before. Buford was shot. He was stabbed. He was all kinds of things on calls by himself. He had to shoot Hamilton. He was by himself. He got stabbed. He got all these times that Buford was by himself. But yet, Warren Jones or Mike Elam or somebody writes in this statement, or let's just go with what it says there. It says a TBI agent wrote it. So we've got a dirty TBI agent because he never took Moffitt before a grand jury. When did we ever see a grand jury log, a grand jury witness appearance log from the clerk's office or courthouse where Jim Moffitt or where an indictment was returned? Because if you went before a grand jury with this statement right here, with this made-up statement, even though it's made up and false, you could take this paper right here before a grand jury on a live person and go in there and tell them, put you a suit on, look distinguished, or put you a uniform on with a badge, and you can go in there and get you an indictment on just what's on this paper right here. Why did this TBI agent, if that's who supposedly wrote this, why was Jim Moffitt? I can't emphasize it enough. This TBI agent is corrupt. This TBI agent is dirty. Ever who wrote this up, is, if it's true, is dirty, because they refused to give Pauline or anybody justice if they didn't take Moffitt before a grand jury and let him tell them all about this. Moffitt stated that where the first shooting occurred on the bridge on New Hope Road, it was impossible because that bridge could not simultaneously have two cars pass on. You know, Baldwin said the same thing. Baldwin said the same thing. He said it was an old single lane gravel road. Well, we know it was graveled back in 67. But let's just see here. You know, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Now, this report, either by Jones or Elam or whoever done it, let's see what we got here. Whoa, what is this? Huh? What is that? That car on the right, that cruiser sitting there, is actually sitting on the bridge, guys. He's actually sitting on the bridge that Buford said the shooting took place at. Now, back behind this car here, if you'd look in the opposite direction to the rear, if you were standing right there beside that driver's door and looked toward the trunk of that car, that's a straight stretch. That's a half a mile straight stretch down behind there. I would say Buford tagged that bridge as the marker. Well, you know where the old bridge is over there. That's where it took place. That doesn't mean it was on the bridge. There's a straight stretch and a half coming up on that bridge if you've ever been to Adamsville and went to this first ambush shop. Now let's look straight ahead there at this road, how this road curves around up through there. You can see it in the distance. Look where these guys are standing. There's another vehicle parked on the other side. He's not off the road. He's not on the grass or the gravel. He's actually on the road. So there's another 12, 15 foot over here for another car to pass. It ain't like you had to pull off. I've been on country roads where one car meets another car and you have to pull over. Let that car go by and then you pull back out. See, if you guys read this report and you listen to everything that you read without looking for evidence, that's what you come up with. Because right there it says it was impossible. It was impossible because that bridge could not simultaneously have two cars on it. Now, this supposedly is a TBI report. This supposedly is a TBI agent's statement. He don't have nothing with Moffat's signature, nothing where they witnessed. They don't even have the agent's name where you could even look at him and say, did you write this? When did Moffat tell you this? Did you take Moffat before a grand jury? Moffat claimed that he personally picked up a double handful. Guys, in 40 years, I never went out and picked up nobody's brains. Ask any police officer out there. Police officers, please, if you've ever went out and just reached down, I don't care, even with rubber gloves on, did you ever reach down, even with rubber gloves on, just pick up two handfuls of people's brains in a suicide, a homicide, a car wreck? Did you ever do that? Please just tell me, one person. It don't happen. We may get a shovel, we may get a scoop, we may get something to help clean it up. We usually left that to the rescue squad or the fire department. Cops ain't gonna do that. We're not cleanup guys, we're investigators. Shot inside the car. There was no way for her brains to got on the outside the car. Well, Dennis Hathcock said he found her skull, her piece of her skull, her scalp with some hair on it, some brain matter. They found brain matter on the outside of Pauline's door where her hair had been flying in the wind and hitting the side of the car with blood droplets. All that blood inside the car, Pauline must have had 5 gallons of blood in her. She really should. She must have had 5 gallons of blood because there's 3 gallons of blood on the seat alone that's soaked in, not counting on her door. Imagine if there's a spot out there on the road where he actually shot her at, what blew out and what drained while he was putting her into the car. Guys, they're fibbers. They're fibbers. They don't tell the truth. It says it contradicts Buford's statement. It contradicts. Buford don't have a statement. Buford don't have a statement. Jim Moffat don't have a statement. Jim Moffat don't have a statement. Guys, you can take paper. You can get old paper. You can do whatever you want. If Mike Elam's been at this for 20 years, That's maybe why he thinks he's such a detective. He thinks he's fooled so many people with so many documents and so many papers. TBI's lost a file in 1976. Do you think the TBI would be happy when they come up and Mike Elam says, look here, I've got this, this, and this. Whoa, where'd you get that at? I've had this for years. Jones gave this to me way back before he died. I've had this. Well, we don't even have that. We've lost the whole file. Well, here, you can have this. Just put this in your file like it's yours. Oh, thanks, Mike. No problem. Mike said they asked him on a podcast. He was telling those people on a podcast that after he gave them the gun, they said, do you have anything else? And Mike laughs real big, and he says, how much do you want? And giggles, how much do you want? Mike can give it to you as much as you want. He's had 20 years to do this because you've lost yours. If you'd gave Mike some time, Mike would have had you some casings that you could have found out there on the side of the road. What do you guys think Mike Elam and Ricky Plunk went out there and shot that gun for? What do you think they kept their bullets? What do you think they kept casings, spent casings from a gun that they think is used in a homicide, an ambush, and stolen, and they go out and shoot a stolen gun used in a homicide, and they keep the bullets and the empty spent casings? Why? Why would they do that for, guys? How much do you want, he says. How much do you want? Moffat also described Pauline as being very dirty. Very dirty. Now, they said Moffat and Warren Jones went to Memphis Hospital to see Buford. When did he have time to go to the funeral home or to the morgue to see Pauline? Why would you go to the morgue? Why would you go to if she's dead? See, because cops, that's one thing about us. We know what dead people looks like. If you tell us somebody's dead, we don't have to. We'll be there for the autopsy. We go witness the autopsy or go witness the funeral or whatever, or look at the coroner's report because the coroner will do a report on it. Why would Moffat, how would he see Pauline's clothing? They'd done took her to the hospital when he showed up there. But this here says Moffat said that her clothing was very dirty. Great, great. Please show us those clothing, TBI. See, the more the TBI tries to make Buford look guilty, the more the TBI looks silly, for lack of a better word, silly. Very dirty clothing. Okay, where's the clothing at that you picked up at Shackelford Funeral Home? Where's her shoes at that you picked up out of her car after you photographed her car? After you'd done moved them, after you'd done taking the shoes out of the car and then say, oh, wait a minute, we should have took a picture of those shoes before we... Buford's hit heels, ditches, he's driving like a maniac. Shoes are sitting there inside the door. They ain't been moved. Them shoes, Pauline's all over the front of that car, floorboard, passenger side, Buford's lap. Those shoes are sitting there just like you'd took side by side with two fingers and set them back in there so you could take a picture. Those shoes haven't moved. That car's been turned upside down. Those cars are sitting there just like maybe somebody, oh, put them shoes back in there. I didn't get no picture of them. Oh, okay. And then they set the shoes back in there, and somebody said, look at her. Look how her shoes is. Nobody takes their shoes off like that. Yeah, you're probably right. She probably just had them in the floorboard there. But when they done moved them and then set them back in just to get a picture, that's how they set them. And that's how evidence can be tampered with. Sometimes not even intentionally. Sometimes just through stupidity. Beaten up. Said Moffat said that she had been beaten up. He saw her and she had been beaten up sometimes before she was killed. He don't know when it was, but she had been beaten up. Now there's another thing that Mike Elam says, 3 days. And then, of course, Oakley Dean Baldwin, he follows along and he says 3 days, been beat up before. He follows everything Mike Elam says. And then Mike Elam's got 20-some thousand followers, including Davison. Mark Davison is a follower on Facebook of Mike Elam, loss prevention officer book writer, Mike Elam, and you got the Attorney General. You've got General Davison that follows. He's one of those 23,000 followers. You take 23,000 people and start spreading rumors, guys. Take 23,000 people and get them out there and start spreading the same rumor, because Elam says tell them something over and over and over, and they'll start believing it. He sure got to General Davison. He convinced me of that, because General Davison stood up there and said it almost verbatim what Mike Elam has said in his podcast that I've been watching. Shortly before she was killed, went to get a divorce, but nobody thought to go ask General Abernathy that. Nobody thought to say, well, let's go ask him, because he put in the newspaper he's looking for anything, any kind of information. He called all the law enforcement officers together in the courtroom, sat there in the courtroom and said, guys, if you know anything, give it to me. Give it to me on Buford. Nobody had nothing. Jim Moffitt sat right there, didn't say a word. But there's an agent that's got this report, and they didn't give it to Abernathy. Moffitt claimed that he knew Buford had a .30 caliber rifle in his trunk of his car, but that the rifle was not there when he looked inside. When did he look inside? When did he look inside? Did he look inside at the ambush site? Did he look inside at McCoy's, whatever that place is, garage or whatever, where he was parked? Did they go over the car right there before they had it towed in? Or was it after? I'll bet it was after Buford went to the hospital with his chin blown off and called P.D. Plunk to go get that gun out of his car. Buford went to the trunk of his car, they said, to get a gun. To get a gun out. Then he remembered he loaned it to Cox, they said. Who checked with Charles Cox? Carl said that Buford had sold that gun a couple of days before the incident. That's what Carl Pusser was to have said in this report. But yet, a couple of days later, when Buford got out of the hospital and all the rumors started, Buford called the TBI up and said, hey guys, y'all care to take my rifle and have it tested so we can stop these rumors? And they took it and tested it, and it come back not the weapon used. Because, see, at that time, they had the shell casings that they could compare to it. They actually had 14, 15 shell casings, mostly .30 caliber. I think they had one or two 30-06s. We know there was at least two 30-06 rounds fired, because the pathologist herself said that it was high-velocity rounds that went through and through. .30 caliber won't do that. Watch the reenactment with the dummies that they're using. If they proved anything that was credible, that's it. And that was that the 30 caliber round will not pass through the human skull. Moffitt stated that he carried TBI Warren Jones to Memphis. See, he took them to Memphis. They didn't go look at how dirty Pauline's clothes was. In fact, if I didn't cover it a while ago, we can't go look at the dirty clothes, guys. The TBI has lost any clothing that Pauline had on. They've lost any clothing. Did they lose them because they wasn't dirty and they didn't want nobody to see that, because that'd be exculpatory if she wasn't out of the vehicle? Or did they lose them because they just wanted to put everything in a bag and carry everything off at one time? Everything was all in one bag together, or box. Buford was in the hospital. My God, Jim, what have I done? My God, Jim. I can see that. I don't believe Buford. I don't believe none of these statements, so-called statements. I don't believe none of them. They're all hogwash, something either Jones or Mike Elam, somebody made up, and they wrote it down here. But, my God, Jim, what have I done? That sounds like something Fred McCoy would say. I can just see having Sheila out with me on patrol and something like this happening, and it happening to her. What have I done? Because I would blame myself for taking her with me. I would blame myself for not being able to protect her. I would blame myself. That don't mean you're guilty that you done something. Warren Jones did not say another word after Warren Jones got into the room. Moffitt stated that he believed that Buford killed Pauline. Now, guys, there's you a star over there. There's you a star. It don't get no better than that. Moffat said that he believed, he also said that, according to this statement, that Buford beat her up. Is that not enough? Law enforcement guys out there? Friend and foe? Friend and foe. I don't care. If you're on Elam's side, I don't think there's that many real law enforcement officers out there that goes along with Mike Elam. I just can't see it. If you did, you're not the investigator you probably should be, because it's not there. If a man come to me and said that Buford said, "My God, what have I done?" That Buford said that he knew that Buford beat his wife up, she had dirty clothing, and Moffat stated that he believed Buford killed Pauline. If you don't think I'd have him before a grand jury, it would have cleared me. I would have made sure I was clear forevermore. If I didn't do nothing else, I would have at least said, guys, I presented it to a grand jury. Don't blame me. It's up to a grand jury. All I can do is take them before a grand jury. If the grand jury doesn't want to indict, if they want to come back with a no true bill, that's up to them. Who's Bill Ray? Bill Way. TBI Warren Jones. Bill Way stated there was no ambush. See, Mike Elam makes a big video. He made a video on this guy, and he says, now this video is not verbatim with Bill. I just put in certain things. Well, why didn't you put it all, Mike? Why didn't you put it all? You can't just put in what you want to put in that's negative or that's leaning to one direction. How do we know what was said before or after a statement? How do we know how you led him up to saying something? Way stated that Buford was not hit by rifle shots, and that Buford shot himself in the jaw with a .357. Oh, that's great. Okay, see, that's where that come from. A newspaper reporter. A newspaper. Now they're following loss prevention officers, book writers, and a newspaper editor that says he shot himself with a .357 in the mouth. That's somebody that don't know guns. Anybody that knows guns knows you don't shoot yourself with a .357 Magnum with a Magnum round inside. You don't do it. Said he knew it would not be fatal. Okay. Well, if you know that, I'll give Mike Elam we'll get a GoFundMe page, get a whole big bunch of money collected, and say, now, Mike, it's yours. Here you go. Try this. Demonstrate this for us. It's yours. You can have this whole pot. We'll raise you up $1 million. We'll give you $1 million to try that. Show us if it's going to be fatal or not. .357 Magnum with a Magnum round into your mouth. The gases alone would blow your mouth apart. The gases alone. Way stated that it had all been pre-planned. It's funny that it was all pre-planned, but yet Buford forgot and put the murder weapon in the trunk of his car and had to get PD Plunk. It was all pre-planned, had it all worked out. 2 crime scenes, 2 ambush sites. Shot his face half off, but daggone, I forgot what I was going to do with this gun. I'll just throw it here in the trunk. Then gets to the hospital and says, oh, wait, I should have put that there. They liable to look in that trunk. I better call PD Plunk. Guys, TBI is never going to redeem themselves. Mr. Mark Davison is never going to redeem himself from this case. He's never going to. Mr. Mark Davison and Mr. David Roush's name will live in infamy forevermore, just as Buford Pusser's will. They made their mark. They wanted their name to be out there and be famous. Well, they are. They're going to be famous as they're going to be famous. It's sad, but it's true that they thought the American people was so gullible. No doubt they seen some of Mike Elam's comments, some of Oakley Baldwin's comments on their pages and YouTube channels. They've seen that, and they've thought, wow, if we can get that many people with us, we're good. Well, you can get that many people. You can have them. I think most of these people's just been drinking the Kool-Aid for 20 years, and sometimes it takes a while. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, but you can show people that's got brains. You can show them proof And they'll slowly start coming around and saying, hey, I'm starting to doubt this. I didn't know this. I was just listening to Mike Elam. I didn't know all this other stuff was out there. Guys, 30 minutes long enough. Thanks for watching. I hope I made some sense to you. Don't believe everything you hear. Don't even believe everything you see when you see these paperwork with computers nowadays, with old typewriters back in the day, no signatures, nothing that we can look at somebody's signature and go back and look at an old paycheck stub or anything at all, a loan payment, and say, let me see Warren Jones' signature here. Let me compare this. Let me go get an expert. Let me go get experts to look at these signatures. Oh, wait a minute. We can't look at signatures. We can't look at Bill Way's signature. We can't look at none of these. Nobody put signatures on here. This is a bunch of words typed up on a piece of paper with no more significance to it than me telling you that. Thanks, guys. Catch you next time.